Hello and welcome back to ManVFilm. Special announcement time. I have with me super imprint fan Philip Jeffries, who has got a snazzy collection of imprint titles behind him, and we are going to talk about the recent announcements from Imprint for May. Philip, do you want to introduce yourself and just where people can find some of your stuff?
Nowhere. I no longer exist.
Ah,
I no longer exist. Right now, there is no Philip
oh,
Jeffries reviews. There are no Philip Jeffries reviews. Nothing.
we have a
So
man of
you are
mystery.
absolutely. I no longer exist. Not in the normal sense, anyway.
Hmm.
And some will understand what that means. Some won't. And it doesn't matter who does or doesn't because nothing really matters anyway.
Yeah.
So
Well,
shall we get on with it?
yeah, well, tell me, like, Imprint is currently your number one boutique. Is that right?
Well, their 2022 slate was undeniably insane. Come
Hmm.
on. I mean,
Yeah,
everybody has to admit that. It was they meet slapped Criterion
hmm.
and many other companies. I will say I bought like well over 100 titles from Imprint last year.
That's impressive.
And I
Yeah.
what accelerated my spending was you sending me the Odd Couple and the Out of Towners,
Right.
and I
Okay.
bought about 100 titles since then. So they can thank you for that.
Hmm.
Mm.
Shall we jump into the announcements and have a little look?
Why would we?
Okay. So first up here we have collection number 219 from 1946, The Catman of Paris. Author Charles Rainier returns to 1896 Paris after exotic travels, having written a bestseller which the Ministry of Justice would like to ban. That very night, an official is killed on the dark streets, clawed to death. The prefect of police suspects some type of werecat, but Inspector Severin thinks there is nothing supernatural about Rainier's motive. Rainier begins to doubt himself when he has another hallucinatory blackout during the second killing. Who is the infamous Catman of Paris? So this is a worldwide debut on Blu-ray. So we've got from a 4K scan. It's got a new audio commentary with Kim Newman, Stephen Jones, a new video essay with our favourite Kat Ellinger, and The Republic's Picture Story, a 1991 feature-length documentary on the studio featuring hundreds of clips and on-camera interviews. Philip, what do you think of this one?
Well, I'm not one for cat movies, but I am one for cats. I have to say I saw Cat People when I was
Mm.
in film school, and I
Yep.
was forced. I mean, they put me in one of those. What are those called? The stocks
Yep.
to write
Just
an
a
essay
Clockwork
on
Orange
cat.
almost. Forced
Yeah,
it
it
out.
was awful. I had to write a paper on Cat People, and by golly, I did it, and I got an A. I did, I did, but it was painful. I never
Mm.
saw the Natasha Kinski one with Malcolm
Right.
McDowell, but I can say that, and I've seen the Cat People sequel. I'm
Mm.
not much of a cat person film. I know this has our favorite uh, person, Cat Ellinger, on there,
Yeah.
but no, I'm joking. Cat's great, and she's always a selling point on a
Mm.
disc for me. But I don't know. I'm not a cat person, horror film person guy.
Right. Yeah.
Blu-ray first, great. It's wonderful, and if you're into it, you should get it. Absolutely, I think you should.
I am into it. This jumps
I
out
know
at
you
me.
would
I
be.
just,
Yeah, I know
yeah,
you would be.
classic horror. Sounds great.
Hmm.
Worldwide debut is always interesting. I kind of, it feels as if it's a lost movie that way. So it's something that I'm definitely interested in getting.
It's a marketing scam.
Possibly, and I'm falling for it.
Hmm.
So next up, we have from 1949, The Great Gatsby. This 1949 movie lavishly takes us on the journey of Jay Gatsby, who worked all the way from poor fisherman to extravagant millionaire. travelled back in time to the Roaring Twenties, a time of flappers, bootlegging, Art Deco architecture, and jazz music through this classic tale of love and betrayal, deception, and mystery. Here, for the first time, the film is presented in high definition from a new 4K scan. Again, it's a worldwide debut. This was a transfer that's done in 2022. New commentary from professor and film scholar Jason A. Nee, Alan Ladd, The True Quiet Man documentary. And that's it for extras. More to be announced. Okay, Philip, give us your take on this one.
I'll give you a highly intellectual one. I hate F. Scott Fitzgerald.
I personally, The Great Gatsby's never been a story that I've enjoyed. I can't sympathise with any of the characters. I'm not interested really in it. They always leave me a little cold.
Could not care less.
So it's a maybe.
Yeah. It's a no. And I love Imprint, and believe I know we'll get to it later. I know that sometime down the line they're going to just hit me with a month where it's like, holy God! But and we're both waiting. Everybody's waiting for that. No, this one I'm going to skip. Alan Ladd, funnily enough, I know most from a Giallo, the
right.
Pajama Girl Case Murder.
Yep.
Whatever. Yeah, that's a great. I love that movie. I think it's a great film. Yeah, that's my Alan Ladd. That's how I know Alan Ladd. I know. Well, I know he's been in a lot of film noirs that I've seen, and just they all kind of meld into one another after a while. But yeah. But anyway, no interest. Absolutely not.
No interest. I've got a pass.
Nope.
There.
Pass.
What about Uptight from 1968? No. So this title, let's get into it. Days after the assassination of Luther King, Tank Williams is an unemployed and steelworker who turns over his militant friend Johnny to the police for £1,000 reward, resulting in an underground all-points bulletin to exact vengeance on the squealer. Uptight is a remake of John Ford's The Informer. It's a 1080p presentation from a 4K scan. New commentary by Alan Silver and Jim Orsini. New interview with curator Karen Alexander about the film's impact in African American Hollywood. Now, have you heard of this one before?
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe I saw this in a film class when I was maybe 20 or something like that. But I was sort of nodding in and out. For whatever reason, who knows? But I was nodding in and out, and but yeah, I do remember it and being intense. The thing that's really exciting is that I'd forgotten about it, and when it was announced today, I was like, "Holy shit!" And just to buttress this release, to give it some jouissance, is Jules Dassin. Now, he was blacklisted, as a lot of people will know on this channel, and Daryl F. Zanuck warned him that he was going to be blacklisted, and he went off and he said, "Go off to London, make this." He made Night in the City with Richard Widmark, Herbert Lom, Gene Tierney. This is one of my favorite film noirs of all time. 1950. It is just a fantastic film, absolutely. Right, but then he was, exiled. He was a filmmaker in exile. What does he do?
Rafifi.
Exactly. And then of course before that you have films like I think Aero Academy before God Rest Their Soul. They put these out together. So I mean, this is a heavy hitter here. And another thing that's really of note, and any idiot with a computer can Wikipedia this, but the production of Uptight was spied upon by the FBI. And they had PAs and they had other people that were working in the production that were reporting to the Cleveland office. I believe they were reporting directly to J. Edgar Hoover about the production. It took place right after the murder of Martin Luther King. Say what you will about the FBI, if you think they're great or not or what. There's some ideas about Martin Luther King
Mm,
Jr.'s assassination, I mean, they literally, that's true. It's fact. They sent him a letter to tell him to kill himself. You can look it up, and it's a fact. It's
mhm,
fact. It's a matter of record. The way they messed with him. Well, yeah. So this film is important. That is
mhm.
all I'm going to say, and I've said a lot already. But yeah, 1968, right after the murder of Martin Luther King Jr., and also with the just the also the fact that Jules Dassin was in exile because of
Mhm.
HUAC. You know, that's also very interesting. So a persecuted man who was again making a film and being persecuted in the States
Yeah,
about a man who had just been assassinated. I think it's very important, and to me, the pick of the week for Imprint. So I
yeah.
went on a little bit there, but yeah.
It sounds fantastic, and I love the idea of taking a John Ford film, updating it with politics of the time, and adding that spin into it. So you've probably got a really solid story there, and then adding all this uh, culture on top of it of what's happening at the time just sounds fascinating. And yeah, the cover just like, it looks great. So
And
I'm interested.
Booker T and the MGs does the score.
Right. What more do you want? Yeah.
Yeah,
It's good. Let's jump on to the next title, which
absolutely.
is John Ford's The Long Voyage Home from 1940. The merchant ship Glencairn rolls and shivers in the black North Atlantic. On board, her anxious crewmen search the sky for German planes and hope they'll survive the long voyage home. Director John Ford and screenwriter Dudley Nichols adapted delivered this compelling lyrical look at men at sea. O'Neill considered this the favourite of all his filmed works. So we have a high definition Blu-ray restored by UCLA Film and Television Archive, audio commentary with Alan Silver and Jim Orsini, new interview with film professor Jose Arroyo, interview with Jean Chothia, Cambridge University English professor, video essay by Tag Gallagher, Serenity at Sea, John Ford, and Arana feature, if I get that right. I don't know anything about this. John Wayne, John Ford, what do you think, Phil?
I think this.
John Wayne lives.
Yeah, I can't stand John Wayne. I don't like him as an actor. I don't like him as a man. I couldn't care. I couldn't care less. I could use much more colorful language,
Hmm.
but I shan't. Out of respect to the Glaswegian I sit across
Well, let me ask you
digitally.
this. John Ford, what's your feelings on Ford?
I'll be honest. I think David Lynch played a great John Ford, but I don't know much about him.
Hmm.
So if you want me to talk shit, he was the best. He was the greatest. He was this. He was that. I don't have nothing. I have no idea.
Hmm.
I honestly, I know he did the shooting of Liberty Valance or whatever it's. I know.
Mhm.
I know that. I know a bunch of his films, and I know how he feels about Horizons. But that said, I don't know much about John or Jack Ford, as you know he's been
Mhm.
called. But I do know the greatest filmmaker of all time is David Lynch.
I I'm I don't have as strong feelings about Wayne as you do, and I do genuinely like John Ford. Everything that he's put out, I've enjoyed. I've never heard of this one, but I'd be open to giving it a chance. Not going to write it off immediately. Um,
Oh, I'm not either, but
it doesn't
yeah,
speak to you.
John Wayne. I'm not as an actor. I can't really get behind the Duke. I find him uh, just boring. Also, I love his quote about that he was asked about indigenous people, and he said the Indians, you know, we beat them fair and square.
Yeah. Okay.
Probably one of the
Let's
best
die.
quotes of all time.
That's a good one. That's
Yeah.
definitely for a t-shirt. We have next is Bus Riley's Back in Town, which was from 1965. A brooding ex-serviceman comes home to spend time with an innocent girl and worldly woman. An entertaining, well-written and well-acted drama with a great cast. Anne Margaret sex plotting her way through makes this a must-see movie. It has a new HD presentation from a 2K scan, audio commentary by Lee Pfeiffer and Paul Scrabble, interview with film professor Lucy Bolton about Anne Margaret, and yeah, that's about it. I know absolutely nothing about this one, so do you have anything to enlighten me?
I know that Michael Parks is a great actor.
Yep.
As far as Anne Margaret goes, I don't know her oeuvre that well. I know that I think she's one of the bombshells that Artie from the Larry Sanders Show, played by Rip Torn, the great Rip Torn, talks about. He talks about Angie Dickinson. I think Anne Margaret is another. These great affairs that he had. He's the producer. He plays the producer on the Larry Sanders Show with Gary Shandling. My only reference point is of Anne Margaret is of stuff like that. You know, people talking about how they balled her back in the day. But Michael Parks is a great actor. This one, honestly, I love Imprint, and thank God they're saving me some money because I'm not going to pick this up either.
You get a feeling from the cover art, don't you? Like you get a kind of rough idea what the movie is from that artwork, and look how it's selling Anne Margaret. It's selling her as a sex symbol to be ogled and looked at. So I don't know if the movie's got much more under that. So next up we have The Spiral Road from 1962, directed by Robert Mulligan. The Spiral Road stars Rock Hudson as an opportunistic young doctor who travels to the jungles of the Dutch East Indies on a quest for knowledge and money. Planning to profit later, Dr. Anton Draeger sets out to learn all he can about leprosy from a renowned and eccentric older physician, Brits Janssen. However, his journey becomes more spiritual when a terrifying meeting with a black magic medicine man forces him to reevaluate both his self-serving past and his plans for the future. This is from a 4K scan. It's got a new audio commentary by Daniel Kramer and David Del Valle, interview with John Mercer, author of the BFI book on Rock Hudson. Okay, Philip, have you heard of this one? Do you know anything about it? Does that interest you?
100%. I have not heard of it, but it does interest me 100%. Listen, Bring on the Wind. I love Douglas Sirk. All That Heaven Allows. Magnificent Obsession. My least favorite of the Sirk, Rock Hudson stuff. But he also did a film called Ice Station Zebra, which is a adventure. I love that film. And in fact, Saul Goodman uses it as a shell company. In Breaking Bad, you see Ice Station Zebra and Associates. And in Better Call Saul, you find out that his paramour, Kim Wexler, was really into like Turner Classic Movies, and they watched old films, and that was her favorite movie. And so that's where he got that from. But I love that movie. Rock Hudson always has a welcome spot on my shelf. And more adventure films with him, I'm down 100%.
Yeah. I want to see some trailers and maybe read a review or two for that one before I ultimately decide, but it doesn't jump off the page at me just now. You can, of course, pick up the entire May bundle for 180 Australian dollars. That's saving $30, which, if you're interested in, I'd say 4 or 5 of these, is probably the deal to go for. But yet again, here is a list of all the May releases. And Philip, your outstanding release of this month is?
Uptight.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen anything about it, but just it's the one that jumps out at me as looking at like something special. Of course, I am interested in the Catman of Paris, but I kind of have an idea about what that is. Uptight looks to be something spectacular.
But it's also it's also the director, Jules Dassin,
Mm.
the historical context, everything, the production. It's one of those films. It's like, what? It's great they're bringing this out, and that is one of the
Yeah.
things about Imprint that I truly love, is that wow factor that they can hit you with. And you know, they have put out big titles like The Warriors, The Odd Couple,
Yeah.
you know, so many you know,
Wicker
a
Man.
lot of Wicker Man, yeah, and the definitive version of
Yeah.
it too, yeah. They're wonderful. But then they put out stuff that we haven't done it. We've talked about it, but very quickly. But like something like the Music of Chance,
Yeah. Yeah. It was wonderful.
just something that is completely out of left field and
Mm.
blows your mind. You know, yeah.
Yeah, and it's a lot of the time for me. I don't. Either haven't heard of, or these are new films to me most of the time. And sometimes I like just taking a chance and discovering something like The Music of Chance. You know, it was wonderful. Other times it's trying to get a hold of movies that seem to have been completely written off. Let It Ride. You can't get that anywhere else. The Bad News Bears, the original, you can't get that anywhere because, well,
I
when you
have
watch the
those.
movie,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
If you watch the Bad News Bears, you can kind of understand why they're trying to hide it a little bit, but it's fantastic and it needs to be seen. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Let it ride too. Did you get the Let It Ride imprint?
Yes,
Yeah,
I've loved that movie since the 80s, and it was one of the titles that I had to get as soon as I started buying imprint titles. I
yeah,
just can't get it here at all. I don't think it. I think the last release it had was a DVD, and even that went for like a silly price. So, yeah, I totally love it.
yeah.
Yeah. So there we have it. The May announcements from Imprint. If you enjoy this dual show of talking about it, let us know in the comment box below. And maybe, just maybe, Philip will come back and talk more about the Imprint announcements if we are lucky. Hopefully we'll be lucky. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Man v Film.